Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back. Super happy to be here with you. I'm with my good friend Beth English, and today we're going to talk about habits, building those healthy habits that can help you achieve your next level as an artist.
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Beth, how are you today? Good to see you.
I'm great. Good to see you. I'm excited about this topic because I know this is something we always talk about because we love to do our job and we love to do it really well. So I can't wait to get into this.
Exactly. And I cannot wait to ask you some about your habits that you're actually practicing now as we're heading up to your big, huge event that you have coming up, your one woman show, which we talked about it last month. And now we're going to talk about it again today here. And I'll be happy also to share some of the habits that I built over time, some of the ones that have helped me the most in different ways. So it's going to be a great episode, my friends. Don't go anywhere. Stay all the way to the end because, these are things that you can also look at which ones may be the ones that are for you or for you to try. Because I think habits, you got to try them out and see which ones kind of stick and which ones they don't. So, but before we talk about this topic really quickly, I wanted to mention how maybe you guys have noticed, because I know I got some emails about it, like, hey, Sergio, are you guys not doing the weekly, videos as you used to in social media? So you may have seen that we're not doing the short weekly, like quick episodes. Instead, what we decided to do is one longer episode each month. So we don't feel like we have to finish within the 10 minutes to make the algorithms happy on Instagram and all. When we started or kind of our collaborations, that was in the IGTV world when they wanted long videos. Remember that? Now things have changed. Now reels have come. Everything is quick and fast. So we're like, we don't have to change, the content, but rather we want to give people good content. Maybe from here we can get some little nuggets to share with others. But let's go back to really have a good in-depth conversation that could be very helpful for our friends, right?
Yes. And so far, I think it's going really well because we're able to tell more stories, get a little more vulnerable and personal about what we're sharing and who we are as artists. And I think there's so much richness in that you miss out when you're just trying to do something quick.
Yeah, especially with a reel, right? 30 seconds, like da, 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 da. Here's 5 habits, goodbye. So let's talk about habits. Let's talk about building, habits as artists, as creatives, whatever your field is that you exercise your creativity is, that can help you to grow, to get better, to stay on top, to reach for bigger and better things. So let's talk about first the importance of habits. But for you, when did you started kind of like thinking about habits more seriously? At what point in your career? Was it something, or you've always been kind of like habit oriented?
I've kind of always been this way. I love to-do lists. I love checklists. I want to get things done. I want to have a clipboard. I want to walk around with my clipboard and check things off. That's just how I roll, And so it's changed a lot over the years and it's gotten better as far as the things I used to put way too much on my to-do list, right? And so now I just really focus on strategically, what are my goals for today? How can I get those things done? As part of the bigger picture. But yeah, it's just built into me. I don't know why it's this way. I just have always been this way, very good at school and getting those things done. I think it's because I did so much as a younger person between dance practice, band practice, drill team practice, school and homework and all the other activities that I was constantly looking for little pockets of time to finish things so that I could not be waiting till the last minute.
That is going to be an interesting chat because I'm by default, I'm totally the opposite. I don't like the habits. I'm by default a procrastinator. If it was up to me, I would say, let's do it tomorrow. But let's do this video tomorrow, right? So that would be my default mode. That's because my brain is going in many different directions. If something moves there, I want to go there, and so I had to consciously train myself to be effective in my productivity and everything that I do, and I had to consciously kind of prime myself to understand what habits, were, the importance of them. I read a bunch of books about habits and heard a lot of podcasts. This probably, I would say, some 15 years ago, when I really started to think about, well, if I really want to get to where I want to be as an artist, I need to adapt good habits. So it's been for me kind of like a work in progress. And it's been kind of a challenge at some times, where I start something like, okay, it's going to be a good habit, and then I fall flat 3 months later or 3 weeks later, depending, right? So it's been a work in progress, but I'm happy to say that I have adopted some really good habits that have helped me out, and those are the things that we want to share with you today, and explore some of those. So when it goes to habits, but how do you organize them in your brain? Like, do you have like different categories for different things, on things that you want to like add habits to? How do you think of habits in your life and career?
Well, I just think about how I can best be prepared. And
Okay.
I think about it through a lens of preparation. And then in that preparation, I like to visualize. So,
Hmm.
for example,
Yeah.
if I have a busy day and I know I have a busy day coming up, the night before, I like to visualize how that day is going to flow. I like to write it down on my whiteboard, and I like to assign certain times of the day for certain tasks, knowing myself well enough to say, okay, this is going to be successful in the morning, or this is going to be more successful in the afternoon. And then I have it written down. It's in my face. I need those visual cues to help me stay on task, because otherwise I'll be like, wait, what was I supposed to do? You know?
Yeah.
And so it's more about preparation and visualization, I guess, is how I start to think about how to develop those habits.
Mm. And as you do that, do you, because a habit is something that you're going to be doing like on a constant basis. It's not like a one time thing, right? So
Mhm.
how do you go about, let's say, okay, I need to like create a habit on following up my to-do list, because you can write things down in the to-do list, but if you don't check it and you don't have the
Mhm.
you know uh, the discipline of going through them, it will not work. So how do you prepare for the habit to say, this is something I'm going to adapt?
I guess I just, sometimes we approach it like, I have to do this. And if I don't do it, then I'm a failure. Well, I
Hmm.
don't approach it like that. I think of it more as experimenting. And
Yeah.
so, for example, getting ready for my one woman show, I created a habit of every morning rehearsing from 8 a.m. to 10
Oh, I
a.m.
love that one. Okay.
Right. And
That's
so
super
that's something
practical.
I knew I was always going to be doing. And so I wouldn't schedule anything during that time. I would make that time just for me. And that's because I knew that if I didn't do it from 8 to 10, I wouldn't do it all day. So it was a matter of, this has to be done. When's the best time to do it? And then stick to that. And that's what I did. And it's been
Mhm.
working out really well for me, because then I get it done first thing in the morning. It's over with. I'm feeling good. Then my brain is freed up from that pressure of thinking I have to rehearse to do other things like send emails, make phone calls, do Zoom meetings, things like that. So, I think when we have a lot on our plates, the mental distractions of knowing what we need to do and not knowing when it's going to happen, that slows us down so much more than us not even doing the thing in the first place. So
Mhm.
really getting that mental clarity for me is what has helped me the most.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the practical application of, scheduling that specific time for you at when it's your prime, uh, like of energy during the day, to put that practice time, right? Because if you leave it for like later or for the evening, well, you don't have the same energy, and this is such an important event for you coming up that you have to make it a habit at the forefront, not in the back end. Which I love. I think for me, kind of, it's a similar way. I like to think of habits in kind of like different fragments of who I am. For example, like health wise, right? Like health, as I'm getting older now, I passed 50, I'll be 51. So as I get into like these things, like all of a sudden, like, oh, wait a minute, I'm 50. I gotta maybe do a different type of exercise. I was looking into YouTube videos, what type of exercise should I do as I hit 50 and things like that. So I think about, okay, as a in my health life, right? 'Cause it's super important, so I can have the energy to do the things. What are the certain habits I need to take? And so I think of that as a kind of as a box, right? The health box, and then the spiritual box, right? What kind of spiritual habits do I need to practice to
Mhm.
keep healthy in there? And then I think of another box, like the mind, right? The mind also learning. I think that I like to always be learning something, so I want to make a habit of it. So, for example, usually during either when I do exercise during the summer and after the summer when it gets dark and I don't do exercise outside, so then I like then to listen to my learning podcast during lunch. So I have my
Mhm.
lunch, even if it's in my house or in the studio, and then I just put a podcast that I want something I want to learn on, from the ones that come to my phone. So I think of it like in those boxes, and I think because I'm so distracted and because my mind goes in different ways, if I don't categorize them like that,
Mhm.
I easily do not see the value of it, right? I have to,
Mhm.
for me, like see the value of it under that particular box or category. So I know I'm taking
Mhm.
care of all those things. And of course, the productivity one is another big one for me. What am I doing to make sure my day is productive and such. So, and I think, what you said and kind of what I'm sharing too is that we gotta try things. We gotta try things. And for the friends who are watching here, maybe if you're watching this and you're like, I'm a mess, I don't have good productivity habits. Well, maybe it's time to see kind of what works for you. Maybe let's talk about what kind of how can we can help our friends to if they're not good at it, or what if you identify one area of your life in which you're not good at it, how can they get started?
I would say give yourself a test day and
I
go
love
all
that.
in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just build yourself up for that one day to say, okay, here's how it's going to go. And make your schedule, categorize your things, know what it is that you want, whether it's like you said, I love how you put things in the boxes like a health box, a spiritual box, a mental box, how, or like, and then a work box. We forgot that. But also, we've been talking a lot about the things that we're doing. I would also like to bring in the things that give us rest when we're not doing the work and to build that into your to-do list too. So if you could create your dream day, and I've worked on this with some of my clients before,
Mm-hmm.
we create a dream day. What do you want to do when you first wake up? What do you want to do after that? And then so forth. Write it all out. Give you some timestamps as far as goals to hit and give yourself that whole day to do it. See if you can do it for one day and
Mm-hmm.
then reevaluate. Was this as good as I thought it was? Or did I really need this much time for this or vice versa? I mean, or are there other activities that we can do that I can combine them and that it saves time? So if you're taking care of your body as far as eating healthy, but also taking care of your mind, like listening to podcasts, you're doing that all within the lunch hour. So you're hitting two of those boxes at one time, which saves on what we're doing and the time that we're spending. So I think if we can be smart like that and combine some of these activities together, then we're going to find ourselves having actually more time to do the things that we want.
Mm-hmm.
And because we planned ahead and work the plan,
Mm-hmm.
then we're not spending all this time just running around like, what do I do? I don't know, distracted.
Right.
Because all that mental energy that really does drain you. And I feel it too. Like when I'm mentally scatterbrained, I'm not getting anything done.
Right.
And instead of forcing myself to try to keep going, I just push pause and then take care of myself. What do I need to get out of this headspace so that I can go into some deep focus and productive work?
Mm-hmm. I love that, and like you said, um, give it a one test drive, like when you're buying a car, right? You gotta take it for a test drive, see which one you like. Organize your day in the best way you possibly want, and give it a try for one day. One day goes, maybe make some adjustments. Don't give up if the first day doesn't go well. Make some adjustments. How I can do it better. Then try for the second day. And a habit is built, right? A habit is not a button that you click and now I have a habit, right?
Right.
It's a build up thing. That's why we call that from the beginning, building up habits for our career, for a creative life, because they have to be built. We have to train ourselves. It's like training. It's like boot camp, right? We have to train ourselves into those habits so that they become something from normality. And I don't know if this has happened to you, Beth, but like, for example, for me, I have adapted certain habits that sometimes over a period of time, I get bored with them and I need to change. I need to switch them around because, like, for example, I'll give you a one that for me, I always have to change it every few months, like the to-do list, for example, right? So there are seasons in which I have right by my computer a notepad with I decide how am I going to organize my to-dos for the day and so on. And it works for a while. And then I started getting bored with it. Like, okay, I need to either I'm gonna start dropping the ball or I need to switch the method. And then now I go into a digital format. For example, then I'll use an app that helps me track, all my to-dos and activities. I get bored of that after, a couple months. So, right now I'm using Evernote, which I've used it many times before again. And I created like a dashboard on Evernote, and that's what I have my to-do most important today, all the things that I can add during the day that is for later. It's kind of like what's hot, medium, and cold, right? So, but I found in myself that I have to, if I don't switch around, I get bored. But does that happen to you? I mean, I know we are all different people, right? Had to see what works for you. But do you get bored with some of your habits,
Yeah,
or
I
you're
think
pretty consistent?
I think we're always trying to find ways to be more efficient, whether it's with an app or a notepad or whatever. But I've definitely found that working with a whiteboard, it changes every day. So I'm getting that sort of consistent or that change in the way that I approach it because I'm rewriting something new. I can draw on it. I can, doodle. I mean, I can do whatever I want on my whiteboard. And if I am done with it, I'll just erase it and it's easy. And it's not hiding from me. And that's the thing. If it's in a folder on my computer or in an app on my phone or tucked away in a notebook, it's not in front of me. And I have learned that I need to see visual cues. That is something I have to have. Otherwise, I'll forget. And so everything goes on the whiteboard. And that is the only way I have found that has helped me. And the reason I learned this is because probably like 10 or 12 years ago, probably more longer than that, actually, I worked for a startup company. It was a film company.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I worked for a startup. And they had whiteboards everywhere. And so it was always about what are we doing today? And working for a startup, it was a grind every single day. And so I kind of got into that feeling of working through problems, working through tasks, using a whiteboard, and the whole team could see it every single day. It was very clear what we needed to do. And so I just adopted that habit and I still use it today. So I think find something that works for you and then stay with it until maybe you do need to change and then go and explore. Life is about exploring and experimenting and being curious, right? And that helps us in our creative lives in general. So why don't we apply those same tools to the creative that we use in the creative process into managing our time every day?
Mm-hmm. I love that. The whiteboards are really cool. So I have two whiteboards by my desk. But I use the whiteboards for me. I use them more as my long-term kind of planning. This is something maybe just me, but I have a fear that if I put like something like more like everyday kind of thing on the whiteboard, then I have to erase it, and I may forget about it. So I happens to me that my whiteboard starts to get really cluttered, and then I don't understand what in the world I wrote. So I have two of them, one side by side. So on the left one, I have kind of like the long-term planning of my business, which I see every day. I make adjustments. Okay, maybe let's do this, let's do that. And then on the right one is more my brain works, more random and organic. So what I can do like jazz notations and things like that. Or sometimes I might not even look at it for the whole week, and then I go back there like, oh, I was thinking about that the other day. And it kind of helps me as a reminder.
And see, all the random stuff that goes on my notepad because I have a notepad on my desk and then I have the whiteboard right here. And for those of you who are like, oh, I got to go out and get a whiteboard now, I'll tell you what I did. It's about an 18 by 24 size whiteboard, and I just sit it right on my easel.
Yeah.
And so it's like it kind of brings the art into the work, right? If I'm not painting, then I'm at least got my whiteboard on my easel. And I don't know, I like it like that, but
yeah, I love that.
You don't have to buy like a huge whiteboard if you don't have a space for that. There are other options for sure.
Right. And maybe one, as you know, as we start wrapping it up, because I think we have a lot of really good points in here on this video, but also if you are new to this, or if you're trying to kind of get yourself reorganized, refocused, reoriented, don't try to adapt too many habits at once, because then you could be overwhelmed. You could feel like now you have to keep up with everything, and it could be counterproductive. Start with just a couple. Because how are you going to live tomorrow differently than you did today? Speak two things. Two things. One, for example, I'll tell you one that has made a huge difference for me, which I decided to make it into a habit. I used to, when I went into social media, first look at what everybody was doing and spend a lot of time looking at what everybody was doing before I started before I made my post. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm just wasting time looking at everybody instead of doing my thing. So now I do the opposite. In the morning, when I'm ready to post, I go to my social media. I don't look at all at what everybody else is doing. I focus on my post, my content, my agenda. Once that is done, if I have any time left, then I'll go and see what others are doing. Otherwise, if I didn't have a habit like that would help me, I was just wasting time looking at everybody else's work instead of focusing on my work. And I noticed that when I changed that, it's a habit that I'm like, oh, actually it works. I feel much better. I got my stuff done. Now I have time later on to just go back and build community, but my messaging is done. And that's a habit that I decided to adopt. So one thing at a time.
It reminds me of this video I just saw on Instagram of a racehorse, and it was a bunch of horses racing, and it was saying that the reason that racehorses wear blinders is that they can just stay in their lane.
Yeah.
And when they don't have their blinders on, they could trip or fall or make other horses fall down. And the value in that message is that we have to stay in our lane, keep focus on what we're doing, which is just what you said. Stay focused on what you're doing before you maybe go out and start comparing yourself to everybody else.
Right. Super. Well, Beth, I think this was a great topic. I really enjoyed chatting with you once again, and I think we gave our friends a lot of really good nuggets, and even some that make me think about, as we're talking about this, about my own habits and what things I need to adjust and maybe try for that day, right? One of the new ones. So, Beth, where can our friends find you on social media?
You guys can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Beth English. And if you found that some of this content today has really helped you, send me a message. I would love to connect with you. I'd love to hear what you're doing to build new habits in your art career, in your creative career, because hey, some of your ideas might really help me out too. So would love to connect with you. And what about you, Sergio?
Both of us for sure. Yes. Same. You can find me everywhere at Sergio Gomez Art, and that's where you'll find everything that I'm doing. I hope to hear from you very soon as well. We also ask, if you love this episode, please share it with all your friends. Beth and I will be really, really happy about it. And please tag us so we can also reshare that and give you a personal thank you. Well, all right. Until next time. Goodbye, Beth. Goodbye, my friend.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.